Good evening, everyone. I'm Tom Shillue in for Greg Gutfeld on this very special edition of Gutfeld. Let's welcome tonight's guests. He looks like the first guy to die in every horror movie. Comedian Joe Mackey. Her wine box said it wants to see other people. Fox News anchor Julie Banderas. His comedy inspires change, spare change. Comedian and host of the Loftus Party podcast, Michael Loftus. And his model train is an actual train. Former NWA world champion and host of the Planet Iris podcast, Tyrant. Okay, before we get to some news stories, let's do this.
Greg's Leftovers.
That's right, it's Leftovers, where I read the jokes we didn't get to this week. And just like when Greg does it, it's my first time reading them. So if they suck, well, you know who to blame. Yeah, he's right here. Another sequel to The Godfather is in development, and it will feature a female-driven narrative. The infamous horsehead scene has been replaced by something even scarier, a note that says, "We need to talk." The world's largest bowl of guacamole was mixed up in Mexico. That's just a side. Where's the main course, said one man. The U.S. Consumer Production Safety Commission announced the recall of 125,000 Cozyland toddler tower stools. Also being recalled, baby's first circular saw. They love those. The Mandalorian and Grogu opens in theaters today, and you'll never guess who made a few bucks as Grogu's stunt double. Baby Yoda. Spencer Pratt revealed that if he's elected, he will turn the 19-room mayor's mansion into housing for single mothers. After hearing this, one man volunteered to be in his cabinet. He likes him. Poland was alarmed by reports the Pentagon may cancel plans to deploy 4,000 troops there. A Polish spokesman said, "Now we'll never be able to screw that light bulb in." Come on. It's a classic.
Too soon?
Right? Come on. Fewer illegal migrants crossed the border in 1 month under Trump than in 1 hour during the Biden administration. And Democrats bragged, yeah, our illegals were faster. Scientists discovered a new moth and named it after Pope Leo. This makes sense since they're known for making things holy. That was... Look, Joe, you know, that one's been in there for months. Greg wouldn't do it. I'll do it. Ohio family broke the Guinness Book of World Records for having the slinky fall down a flight of 53 stairs. They claimed they were inspired by watching one man. Yeah. He did it. And finally, newly discovered DNA revealed the origins of the Irish potato famine. And scientists have also predicted the cause of the next one. Yeah. Right? French fries? Yeah. So the DNC finally released the autopsy of why they got smoked in the 2024 election, after rumors persisted it was buried in concrete at the Meadowlands. It's 192 pages long, and I won't subject you to all of it because it reads like an episode of CSI Miami Beach Nursing Home. And it's not just old Joe who's on the embalming table, it's the whole party. Although plenty of Democrats already admitted they don't want to hear it.
We didn't need an autopsy to tell us the Democratic Party doesn't know what the they are doing right now.
I don't really care. I mean, I'm not sure those are the right people to diagnose what went wrong with the election.
An autopsy is a medical procedure you do over a corpse. And now it sounds like we need a malpractice attorney because we couldn't even do the autopsy correctly.
There was no gun, there was no smoke,
no ammo.
You know, there was barely anything in that report.
It was just Chat GPT.
So what was in the report? Well, it pretty much blamed Biden's allies for not supporting Kamala Harris enough before she took over and complains there wasn't enough research done to help her. Research? How long does it take to conduct a sobriety test? And what stands out is what wasn't in the report. Even the CNN nerds took notice.
There's nothing about Joe Biden and what happened in the debate. There's nothing about Kamala Harris getting the nomination without any kind of primary process. And also there is nothing about the way that voters were responding to Gaza and how the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris policies and comments about it were hitting their minds.
Nothing about the Biden debate or Kamala not winning a primary. In other words, it's an autopsy without listing the cause of death. That's not an autopsy. That's how The Sopranos ended. So the Democrats are not willing to admit there even is a corpse and instead pin the loss on Joe's team for not propping up Kamala. Maybe it's because party insiders want to leave the door open for her in 2028. Instead of leaving the door open, they should change the locks. But it shouldn't come as a surprise. They've been refusing to take the blame for their failure with the American people, blaming the first Trump win on Russia collusion and the second one on the podcast bros. And what of Kamala's refusal to go on Joe Rogan? According to the report, that was a scheduling error. Yes, it was. Her staff refused to make the error of scheduling her because they knew she's an idiot. So, what's wrong with Democrats besides low testosterone? They should be sailing along with high approval numbers, considering the midterm elections and gas prices being high. But let's take a look at this highly sophisticated chart we put together of Democrat approval numbers. They're about as popular as hantavirus. And who can be surprised at that? They still can't answer simple questions like, should we have a border? Should men compete in women's sports? Is 5'5" too short to be king of anything? You know. Meanwhile, they left out critical stuff like this.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
I guess leaving out moments like that is their way of showing respect for the dead. So maybe they didn't want a real autopsy because it might lead to a suspect they didn't want to find. Instead, they'd rather act like 2024 was some mysterious tragedy. They should just admit it. America saw what they were selling and said, no thanks, we'll go with this guy. Okay, Joe, I'll go to you. The DNC left out all these key points. What is your theory as to why they can't grapple with these issues?
This was a brilliant report by the DNC because whenever someone asks you to find out why something went wrong, make sure it's not because of anything you did. So they made sure to blame no one in the DNC that's currently there. Instead, they blamed the president they stabbed in the back's wife, Jill Biden, for not paying for research for Kamala. Well, Kamala's running the campaign, so obviously you shouldn't expect Jill Biden to handle your research. Plus, do they really need to focus group how popular it is to get stabbed in the neck by a Venezuelan illegal immigrant? It's bad. It's really bad.
It is. It's no good. Julie, it's true. Going through this report, it seemed to me, that's why I mentioned the 2028. I feel like it was Kamala partisans on this because they didn't mention how bad her performance was. Mm-hmm. Only the fact that they held out too long, that if she was in there earlier, maybe things would have been different.
The Democratic Party are like a group of alcoholics. They're like, AA for quitters is basically what their philosophy. Because if you, first of all, as an alcoholic, have to admit you have a problem before you get help. As a Democrat, you need to admit that you're a failure in order to rise up. It's like failing to the top, essentially. Which reminds me of when I was in high school, when I had straight Fs freshman year.
Straight Fs?
Oh, yeah, no, I actually did. This is a true story. I came home and sold it. I was like, but Dad, they're high Fs. And I think that's honestly how the Democratic Party see it, right? A high F is actually, back then, was like a 60, which, quite frankly, that's passing in my book. But as far as like the failures are concerned, I mean, there were so many failures. I think so many that they'd rather just pretend that it didn't happen and just kind of move on. But you'll never move on. The Democratic Party will suffer for these mistakes for a very long time. And the fact that they were incapable of actually discovering why it is that the party was failing, they weren't listening to voters, number one. You know, they were so anti-illegal immigration being like abolished in this country that they were steadfast on protecting illegal immigrants who were repeat criminals, harming and killing Americans. And that is actually, I think, why a lot of Democrats ended up turning to the Republican Party. So admit you're a failure. That's my motto in life.
Admit it. Admit it. Is that it? Tyrus, they have a problem because, you know, some people are treating them that they're clueless, they don't know, but maybe they know. They know what they're selling is not what the American people want.
Now, if it was disease that was in the party, it would be herpes because they keep lying to themselves, saying it's not going to come back. When I think,
speaking from personal experience, Tom.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
You know, when you think of that report, the F word comes to mind. Failure. Failure. And then my second F word is fraud. They're a fraudulent party. Mm-hmm. Everything they've done is fraud. The Jan 6, fraud. 4 years of being stuck in a house with a mask, turns out fraud. Putting Kamala Harris in a position, fraud. Like they just, every state, Medicaid, Medicare, fraud. Like they are just a socialist, up, fraudulent failure network. They are the 3 F's of success party. And the only thing that doesn't fit in there is success. They're never gonna, their autopsy, they're not gonna tell the truth. Because if they were gonna, if the autopsy would have been naming who was calling the shots. Maybe the problem is the American people, when you have a dead person come up on front of the program and you have people in the shadows making decisions, maybe that was a problem. Maybe we didn't like that a guy who couldn't remember his name and yelled out cool things like we killed Medicaid isn't calling the shots. Maybe tell us whom was calling the shots. It was a treasonous party. They went out of their way to turn up our democracy upside down. We don't need a report. We saw it. We lived it. So take your report and stick it with your F.
Stick it. Michael, they always do this. They always do the reports. It's like politicians talking to other politicians. But isn't the voter the ultimate autopsy? They're the ones who are telling the politicians how they did, right?
Yeah, there's a big autopsy report, and that's election day or election month. If you're a Democrat, you need to find some more votes. And, oh, wow, we just checked Aunt Louie's car. Turns out she had a bunch of Biden votes left over.
Exactly.
That's what they need to do. Figure out what happened to those 15 million extra votes Biden got. That's the real autopsy. Yeah, I don't believe this is the real autopsy at all. This is gobbledygook because they know they come out with it after an election and then we talk about it and the pundits talk about it. So this is like, it's like when you're interviewing for a job and you're just lying. You know, that's what the Democrats are doing. What's our biggest fault? We care too much. That's our fault. Yep. Where did we go wrong? Attention to detail. You know, that's our task-oriented. That's where we messed up.
Well, even, you know,
listen, you could do their autopsy on the back of a cocktail napkin. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Done. It's over.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.